and you kind of come up to the surface, maybe at the North Pole. First, you'd be at the very center where it's really warm, then you'd go through a rocky layer, then some water, and then the ice. That layer structure is very similar to what we see on Europa. So underneath the ocean, there is this big rocky mantle, and actually we think that there may be hydrothermal vents on the floor of the ocean, just like there are on Earth, and that's where life may exist.
Wow, okay. Yeah. We can probably squeeze in one more. This one's also on Instagram. Do rockets travel at the same speed in outer space?
It's a great question. So when they're traveling through the atmosphere, the air slows them down. They have resistance from the air, but once you get into space, you can go a little bit faster for the same amount of, boost. Additionally, once we get into space, our spacecraft is going to go about somewhere between 10,000 miles an hour and 100,000 miles an hour, depending on where it is in the solar system. So we kind of have a huge variety of speeds that we end up at getting out to Jupiter.
Wow, thank you for that. Again, thank you for your questions. Hashtag Ask NASA. Okay, we're coming up on another fueling milestone. Let's check back in with Daryl and Mick.
All right, thank you very much. And fueling going well right now. We're watching some telemetry on our screens right now. We've got RP1 on the first stage, about 75% complete, about 70% complete on LOX also on the first stage, but we're almost done loading the RP1 on the second stage.
Yeah, stage 2 RP1 load complete, should be finishing up here shortly and getting ready for LOX load on stage 2. So things
stage 2
continuing
RP1 load is complete.
There we hear the call out for a complete of RP1 on stage 2, but things are moving forward with propellant loading, getting ready for launch.
And now you see that LOX being vented out of the booster, which is condensing the warm Florida air here, which we have a beautiful day today, so it's really the only cloud that's in sight.
Yeah, it's a beautiful sight that you see there on your picture of on the screen of Falcon Heavy, looking really good as propellant load continues.
As we look up there, you can see towards the top where Europa Clipper, the spacecraft and the star of the show, is sitting inside of its fairing. You can see the NASA logo at the top, and on this view you can see the Europa Clipper logo, which is just below it, which is a pretty neat design that they made. I want to give you a little closer look at it. It was designed by the JPL team. Cynthia Phillips says she designed it to be something beautiful, something abstract and representational. We actually have a shot of that graphic, if we can pull that up. And there it is. It's a nice logo. The blue-white color scheme represents water ice, the elements on Europa being studied by the spacecraft. The shape looks like a snowflake or an ice crystal. And those two V-shaped portions represent the flybys, each pass of Clipper as it swoops in and then retreats. And then the dot in the center can be Europa, and the star shape can be the spacecraft. They put a lot of thought and design into this logo.
Yeah, it's a beautiful logo. Everybody is on board. It's just incredible to me how much the team, the community, and everybody's just excited about this mission in science, as Jenny was saying. And I know she's excited for this also, she and the JPL team. But beautiful logo.
Yep, looks good on a T-shirt and on the side of the rocket.
Stage 2 LOX load has started.
And there goes stage 2 LOX load. So the final tank that needed to be filled has begun as we continue to make great progress tanking this vehicle. We'll send it back to Megan and Jenny.
Great to hear that tanking's going well. All right, NASA's ambitious journey to Europa has inspired U.S. Poet Laureate Ada Limon to write In Praise of Mystery, a poem for Europa. It is such a powerful piece. Please check it out.
In Praise of Mystery, a poem for Europa. Arching under the night sky, inky with black expansiveness, we point to the planets we know. We pin quick wishes on stars. From Earth, we read the sky as if it is an unerring book of the universe, expert and evident. Still, there are mysteries below. there are mysteries below our sky. The whale song, the songbird singing its call in the bough of a wind-shaken tree. We are creatures of constant awe, curious at beauty, at leaf and blossom, at grief and pleasure, sun and shadow. And it is not darkness that unites us, not the cold distance of space, but the offering of water. Each drop of rain, each rivulet, each pulse, each vein. Oh, second moon, we too are made of water, of vast and beckoning seas. We too are made of wonders, of great and ordinary loves, of small invisible worlds, of a need to call out through the dark.
We had a little bit of technical difficulties there. The package paused a little bit, but I still think that you could really feel how powerful that piece is. And now we're so lucky to have Ada Limon here with us. Thank you so much for being here. That was so moving. I was getting goosebumps.
Oh, thank you so much. It's such an honor to be here. Such a thrill.
I want to ask you, what made you want to write about Europa, and how did you find, I mean, truly the perfect words for that piece?
Oh, thank you. I think for me it was so incredible to be invited to write this poem. And when I was struggling with this incredible prompt, in this incredible ask, I realized that it's not just a poem that's going to Europa, not just a poem that's on the Europa Clipper, but a poem that's for us. It's a poem for everyone here on Earth. And that was really important to me as I tried to choose the right imagery and the right language.
Mm-hmm. Not a tough ask at all.
No, not at all.
And not only that, but we're taking your poem with us. Yeah. So we have here a replica of the vault plate. This is the plate that's going, that is part of our vault on the spacecraft that's protecting all the sensitive electronics from all that radiation, and it's written in your own handwriting. Yeah. How does it feel knowing that a piece of you is going to Europa?
You know, one of the things that I keep focusing on is that it really is a poem for all of us. Mm-hmm. But when they asked me to do it in my own handwriting, my grandmother, who passed away a year ago, she was the one who taught me to really make my handwriting as perfect as could be. And every time I look at this piece, I feel like my grandmother is part of this project too.
I heard you had to rewrite it a few times to get it just right.
You think? Yes, many times.
The handwriting is as beautiful as the poem itself, I assure you.
Thank you.
And what do you hope people take away from this?
You know, I really hope that as we embark on this incredible voyage together, that we are reminded of the wonders all around us, that it's not just in these huge moments of exploration that wonders exist, but that they are everywhere around us all the time. And we can't be lonely if we are all connected to this universe.
Well put. Thank you so much. And I mean, one other note that I want to point out is, you know, Jenny has always talked about this, that mix between science and art. I mean, really, there is a connection that we should be talking about.
Yeah, I think that it's so important. In fact, we do ourselves a disservice when we separate arts and science because we're connected by curiosity and wonder.
Perfect. You are so well spoken. I see why you're the U.S. Poet Laureate. Ada, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. And thank you for the beautiful piece of poetry you gave us for this mission.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been the honor of my life.
Thank you. Thank you so much. If you are inspired, really, as Ada was, to write about our universe, and you want to write your own poetry, the QR code on your screen now is going to take you to a space poetry writing activity brought to you by NASA JPL. All right, another check of the clock. We are now 11 minutes, 51 seconds and counting from liftoff. Jenny, let's squeeze in a few more NASA social questions. What do you think?
Absolutely. I'm ready for them.
Okay, let's pull the one up on the screen right now. This one is, how can we convert images to evidence of valid life and organisms? If it's proven, what are the next steps?
Absolutely. So, you know, Europa Clipper is not a life detection mission, so we're not trying to prove that there is life there now. But what we are trying to do is characterize if this could be a habitable environment. And so, but even so, the images that we're going to get, we learn so much from images. Even just, looking at a photograph of the surface tells us a lot about the geology, why the surface looks the way it does, why it looks like that. And that can tell us what's going on underneath that causes the surface to look that way. And so that tells us about the ocean. So there's a lot we can infer from even just looking at images of the surface.
Yeah. I mean, considering that you're talking about this, let's actually pull up a picture now. So you said earlier that prior missions sparked our interest in Europa. Well, this is a 2022 pic from the Juno spacecraft taken from less than 310 miles above the moon's surface. And you see all those fractures. That's what Jenny was talking about, fractures, the ridges, the bands that crisscross the moon's surface. I mean, from this image, that's how you guys discovered that maybe there is something happening underneath there.
Absolutely. It's part of how we know that there is water underneath the ice. When you think about our moon is covered in craters, right? It's just pockmarked, and so many bodies in the solar system are that way as well. But Europa's surface is really different. There are some craters, but not very many, and that tells us that it is a kind of a young surface, at least geologically speaking, and that begs the question of why. So, that was one of the avenues of scientific questioning that we had that led us to believe that there is water underneath the ice.
Right. So we know about Europa. Well, it is Jupiter's fourth largest moon and only slightly larger than our moon. It's really, really cold at Europa. Surface temperatures range from about minus 210 to minus 370 degrees Fahrenheit. Scientists estimate its ice shell is 10 to 15 miles thick. Because of all that ice, Europa is six times brighter than the space. Spacecraft now on internal power. There is strong evidence of our ocean, of an ocean beneath that icy crust that could hold over twice the volume of Earth's oceans. And then Europa is Jupiter every 3.5 Earth days, with the same side always facing the planet. That is super fast.
That is 3.5. Think about that for a second. 3.5 days to orbit Jupiter. That's so fast.
Yeah. All right, and let's take a look at the launch countdown again. We are now 9 minutes and counting until Europa Clipper launches. And no issues to speak of right now. The weather conditions are fantastic. I mean, your screen right there. Jenny, how are you feeling?
I am just absolutely buzzing. Feeling very enthusiastic, a little bit nostalgic, just so really excited to get Clipper up into space where it belongs.
Yeah, I know this is super thrilling for you and the Europa Clipper team, but this is also a huge moment for astrobiologists and really the scientific community at large.
Absolutely. So astrobiology is kind of the study of how, life is distributed around the universe.
RP1 load is complete.
And so one of the things that was really exciting about Europa is that it's a place in our own solar system that could be habitable. And so this, going to Europa to see it means a lot for the astrobiology community and, of course, for humanity at large.
Well, Jenny, here we go with the final moments of the launch countdown. Let's head over to Daryl and Mick.
All right, thank you very much, ladies. And here at Hangar AE, we are continuing to monitor the launch countdown. And so far, we're at minutes and counting. We're listening to the launch teams. They are monitoring some temperature data coming from the second stage LOX line that goes to the engine there. They're gathering data, so keep an ear and an eye on that. So far, everything else looks track okay.
Yeah, everything's proceeding forward with propellant load, and we did hear that stage one RP1 is complete on the 3. So things are continuing to move forward there, and propellant loading will be finishing up here shortly as the team gets the vehicle ready.
The team at JPL and California also on console for their space just shifted their spacecraft to internal power.
Yeah, they started transitioning to internal power. We'll get full confirmation of that in about 2 minutes, but things are good to go, and things are looking good. Preparations for the spacecraft to move forward.
Engine chill has started.
There we hear the call for booster engine chill started on the 27 Merlin engines, getting ready for a liftoff at 12:06 p.m. today.
T-minus 6 minutes and 45 seconds in counting for liftoff of SpaceX's Falcon Heavy rocket with NASA's Europa Clipper spacecraft. At the very top, it is a beautiful day here in Florida for launching a rocket.
NYRP1 load is complete.
As we wrap up loading the RP1 in the first stage boosters, we've just seen all three go completely filled. Now we await for all three of the LOX tanks inside the first stage booster to get to their full point. You can tell they're most of the way there. As you look on your screen there, you see the cold, the icy cold rocket condensing that Florida air.
Yeah, the team's continuing to load second stage also with LOX, and we're getting very close. We can see on the telemetry here that the LOX load of the 3 boosters is getting near completion. The team is continuing to follow the procedures and look at the vehicle, make sure that we are good to go for a launch at 12:06. But things are progressing per the procedure, Daryl, and all is looking good for a great launch with this beautiful weather that we have at Launch Complex 39.
Coming up next, we are going to start configuring the tower, the strong back from the rocket. That happens in a little less than a minute.
We just heard from the SMD and NOM that the spacecraft is verified on internal power, and things are looking good for the Europa Clipper spacecraft.
We're also listening to the launch teams as they discuss the data coming in that they're looking at for the rocket.
The teams continue to follow the procedure, as I said, and work the loading of propellant, finishing up the topping of the 3 boosters and the second stage. As we mentioned earlier, the 3 boosters are expendable fully. They will not be coming back for landing today. SpaceX is getting the team ready to launch this vehicle today.
You just heard the call out that the strong back is retracting. That strong back appears to have retracted. So we're getting some discussion on the nets regarding the second stage.
NY LOX load is complete.
As we just got completion of LOX load for the Y booster. We're looking for now the center core and the plus Y.
NLM, it's the LD on the countdown.net with a final status check.
Yes, LD, this is NLM on countdown 1, NASA spacecraft, and the NASA team is go for launch pending resolution of the anomaly.
Copy. Go pending outbrief of the issue being discussed on the anomaly net.
Affirmative.
Okay, Tim, so they've mentioned that they're working an anomaly. Tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah, so as we mentioned, they're monitoring some temperatures on the second stage, and things are the teams continue to look at that as they continue filling second stage with liquid oxygen. They're continuing to look at that and monitor that as far as they can into the count. So things are continuing to progress forward with LOX load. Center core is just finished up, so all 3 boosters are filled with LOX and RP1. The second stage has RP1 on, and we're getting near completion of stage 2 LOX load as the team continues to look at that temperature in the second stage. But we did hear NASA launch manager Tim Dunn tell Charlie Myers, SpaceX launch director, that they are go for launch pending the resolution of this temperature issue. So the team has continued to work that. And the team will continue to progress forward in their procedure.
And so these discussions are happening very quickly as we are counting down now inside the final 2 minutes until liftoff.
Absolutely, and we just heard that stage 2 LOX load was complete, And the team is working that, and as you said, this is what they do in the last few moments before launch. They're working their procedures, following their processes, and having these discussions. But we are still progressing forward towards a T0 of 12:06, and things are progressing forward for the launch this morning.
Ground gas closeouts.
We are now 90 seconds until liftoff. Weather is 95% go. These boosters on the outside, they have flown before. The Psyche mission, a little more than a year ago. They are back on the pad along with a brand new center core booster and a spacecraft bound for the Jupiter moon Europa.
Yeah, Daryl, I can confirm, listening to the teams, that everybody is go for launch. They have resolved the temperature issue they were looking at on second stage. Everybody's given the go for that, and Falcon is in startup, so the flight computer has taken over, and we're getting ready for the final
launch director is go for launch.
And there we hear Charlie Meyer say that SpaceX is ready for launch, and Europa Clipper getting ready to lift off.
And there's a great update as now it vents out the locks inside the line of the transporter erector. We are inside of 30 seconds.
30 seconds and counting. Minus 15 seconds and counting.
And here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Beneath the icy crust of Jupiter's moon, Europa.
Engine chamber pressures are nominal.
See that the chamber pressures are nominal as we hear all 27 Merlin engines look great.
Rocket beginning to roll. Putting down 5.1 million pounds of thrust. Coming up, they're going to back off those engines just a bit.
So we're getting ready to head into max
Power
Q.
and telemetry nominal.
We hear that power and telemetry on the vehicle are good there. Everything's looking really
Falcon
well.
Heavy is supersonic.
They have reduced power in the center core to get through max Q, maximum dynamic pressure on the launch vehicle as we approach that. The two side boosters at full throttle.
A beautiful shot there as our camera team.
Max Q.
Locking into the rocket on a clear blue sky. The view from the booster cam back down on Earth.
And there we heard the call for max Q. The vehicle is passing through maximum dynamic pressure. Next thing up in about 2 minutes will be booster engine cutoff, where we see the two side booster engines, all 18, shut down and get ready for booster separation. But the vehicle is performing very well. Looking at all the telemetry that we have, power and trajectory are nominal.
We've been flying for just under 2 minutes so far. Everything looking good. These side boosters, once they do their job, they will be expended. If you're familiar with the Falcon Heavy, you know that they bring the boosters back on certain launches, but not on this one, because all of the performance is needed to push Europa Clipper into its proper orbit.
Things continue to look good as the vehicle heads down its ascent phase here. All telemetry is looking very nominal for this flight this morning. Falcon Heavy is performing very well.
Now we're just about 30 seconds away from separating those side boosters. Their engines will cut off first, then they will separate.
MVAC is chilling.
Starting to chill down that MVAC-D engine in the second stage.
And that's where we need to get the engine chilled to the proper temperatures before flowing liquid oxygen and RP1 into it. So they're conditioning the engine to make sure things are ready for when it's ready to start up.
Stand by for booster separation.
Booster engine cutoff. Side booster separation confirmed.
And there they go.
Those two boosters previously flown on Psyche. This will be their 6th flight. We thank you for their service this morning. They did a great job of getting Falcon Heavy and Europa Clipper on its way as the center core takes over and continues mission down its ascent. Things are looking really good in the telemetry. Power and trajectory look nominal, and chamber pressures on the 9 center core engines look really good.
In just a little more 20 seconds from now, we'll get the cutoff of the main engine on the center core booster that remains. 4 seconds after that, we will separate. Flying out over the Atlantic Ocean. There's a look from inside.
There we see stage 1
Stage separation confirmed.
And stage separation from the center core. Getting ready for MVAC startup, SES-1.
We're getting some applause here in the Mission Directors Center, and there you see the MVAC-D engine lighting up.
Next thing up in about 10 seconds will be fairing separation.
NYPY FTS has saved.
And the fairing has protected Europa Clipper on its ascent up into space, but once we get into space, we don't need that fairing anymore.
Fairing separation confirmed.
Fairing has separated, and those will be recovered, Daryl, by SpaceX's own recovery ship, Go Cosmos.
And there you see them falling away into space. That is the only part of this rocket that will be recovered.
The glow of the MVAC-D engine as it performs its first burn here. This is about a 3-minute and 47-second burn. Things are looking great. Matter of fact, this is one of the shortest first burns that has been done on a Falcon Heavy by SpaceX, but it is required to get us into that parking orbit for that long coast that we have to get ready for the interplanetary trajectory that we're going to need to get Europa Clipper on its way that we heard Jenny talk about to get those Earth assist slingshots as it heads on its way for its mission. So things looking really good this morning with the performance of the Falcon Heavy. MVAC is performing well, and everything looks good thus far in today's mission.
Usually those burns are the other way around, with a longer first burn and the shorter second burn, but in this case it is reversed. As we look at some crystal clear views of the MVAC-D engine, the stage 2 that's carrying Europa Clipper. Orbital light is shining both on the spacecraft, the second stage, and on planet Earth.
Center core FPS has saved.
There we've heard that the flight termination system on the center core has been saved as it heads back to splash down. Things are looking good. I can tell you, Darryl, we had a beautiful weather day for launch, and as we're looking at MVAC flying in space with Europa Clipper, it is such a gorgeous view with Earth behind it, and so we could not have had a better day for a mission launch today.
No doubt about it, Mick. It was simply gorgeous. We had a hurricane a week ago, but after that pushed out, it brought us in its wake near perfect weather for launch. And now we're into space, dealing with the harsh conditions up there.
Stage 2 FTS is saved.
Stage 2 has made its way into space far enough away for us to be able to safe the flight termination system from a safety perspective. We're about a minute away from second stage engine cutoff as we'll see the MVAC-D shut down and get ready for a long coast, getting Europa Clipper into that parking orbit and on its way for the next firing that we will have, the second stage, number 2, to get it into that interplanetary transfer orbit that we need to get Europa Clipper started. So things looking very well this morning. We're about 30 seconds from that stage engine cutoff, which we refer to as SECO 1.
That's right. We'll get terminal guidance.
Get into that coast phase. These views brought to you, of course, by ground stations across the track that are pulling in the high-resolution data from the cameras. Burn looking good, just a few seconds away from cutting off from that first burn. And there it goes. The first burn is complete.
Yep, things look really well on the stage burn result. Apogee, perigee, and everything for the mission looks really good. Engine performance, very well performance by the second stage for this first burn. And things continue to look good as we head into this long coast for this parking orbit.
It's a long coast, and we'll hit that second burn, roughly 3 minutes and 21 seconds long. This one was roughly 3 minutes and 9 seconds. And Mick, you saw the data from it, and it all looked pretty good. Then there you go,
Yep,
confirmation.
We're hearing confirmation that we have nominal orbital insertion. As we were looking at the telemetry here, Daryl, that things looked very good. Stage 1 and Stage 2 performed very well on that ascent flight. And we'll continue to follow Stage 2 to get ready for that second burn. And then, of course, what we're really looking forward to, Europa Clipper separation.
It's going to be a beautiful moment. If the pictures are as clear as we've seen so far, we will see it in all of its glorious detail. All right. We will continue monitoring the coast phase of the second stage with Europa Clipper, and we will bring that to you. Of course, any updates that we have, we'll check back in with you in a little bit, but for now, let's send it back to the host desk with Megan and Jenny.
Oh, wow. I mean, if you're just joining us, welcome live to Kennedy Space Center in Florida, where we just saw a SpaceX Falcon Heavy rocket soar off the launch pad with the Europa Clipper spacecraft. I thought... I'm surprised you're here and composed, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, you did a good job of keeping me upright watching the launch.
Yeah, how are you feeling? How was it to see that and feel that, too? I mean, that was honestly one of the loudest and most powerful rocket launches that I've personally felt here on the Cape.
It was very emotional in a good way, right? Just kind of overwhelming with just the awe of it, and that it's finally going up into space, and I feel almost at a loss for words.
Yeah, I know. She was like, I am sobbing. She just kept saying, I am sobbing. I am sobbing. I mean, but everybody can understand that, right? I mean, and this is one of my favorite parts of being part of the broadcast, because I do get to watch it with the co-host, and really, this is so much of your life that you're seeing culminate in a rocket launch.
It is. It's a huge, again, it's almost indescribable, just the amount of time and effort and all the people involved that got us to here, and to witness that moment is just unlike anything I can describe.
And can you believe it? We are still very much at the beginning of this spacecraft's journey. It is headed for Jupiter's icy moon Europa, which scientists believe could be the best chance of finding the ingredients for life outside our planet. It will take the spacecraft 5.5 years to travel the nearly 2 billion miles to Europa. This is a mission developed by NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory in California and Johns Hopkins University's Applied Physics Laboratory in Maryland. Now, Jenny, why does the team think that Europa is the best chance of finding those ingredients for life as we know it?
Yeah, on this planet, everywhere we find water, we find life. And so, that we think that there's this massive ocean of water underneath the ice on Europa is just, how could you resist, So we think that Europa has that water. That's one of the key ingredients for life, along with the chemistry and the energy and the time. It's been kind of simmering away for a long time.
Sure.
It's a great place to go explore.
And how exciting would it be, right, if we could verify that there are the makings of life as we know it on Europa. So let's dig into the science that is going to make this possible.
We have several ocean worlds in our solar system. And by exploring Europa, we're getting a taste of what these ocean worlds are like. Europa probably has beneath its icy surface